So there's no really easy way that I know of for you to be able to control global parameters within Studio One in the context of what you're asking for. You're going to need some type of a controller to do that. So don't misunderstand. It's extremely easy to do global parameter changes and whatnot in mappings within Studio One, but you simply need a controller to be able to do it. For all that I know, I do not know of any other way around that. So if you don't have a CC11 controller slash expression pedal, you absolutely can do it, but you're going to need a controller to do it. Like for instance, I use Lemur on an iPad, and it basically gives me an infinite power to be able to do that. So I'm able to program exactly what control commands, such as the CC11, through one fader, and it's a global command that will work with any track that I want as long as it's record enabled. So it does not overwrite ones that are not. It would treat it just the same as if you actually had an expression pedal. Now, pretty much, at least that I know of, every keyboard or MIDI controller that's out there on the planet today is going to give you the power to do this. You're simply going to need to learn how to use the software that comes with the hardware controller so that you can go in there and manually assign this global command or controller to a knob or a fader on the actual MIDI keyboard. So for instance, let me show you on mine. I have an Arturia Analog Experience Laboratory 61 key, and I love it. It looks really, beautiful to look at. It's built very nicely. I do have additional MIDI keyboards like 88 key digital pianos and whatnot, and I have a small Axiom 25 that I travel with. And the Axiom 25 can do exactly what you're asking, by the way. But at any rate, with this Arturia, let me bring up for you what you're looking for specifically is any MIDI keyboard I've ever bought before comes with controller software. I'm not talking about the free Cubase elements or anything that come. I'm talking the control editor, like my Axiom 25. Let's see. I have control editor here. If you look here, this is my laboratory MIDI control center. This software, this is exactly what my keyboard actually looks like. Okay? And so you can see here's all my knobs, my buttons, and things that I can assign. If you watch what happens, let's say that I want to assign this fader to CC11, all I have to do is click on that fader, and here comes all of the controls. And you'll see that I actually already did this prior to the video. So it's already mapped. But if I click over here, this one says decay. That says decay if you can't read it. Here's the CC number. I don't need to change any of this. The minimum value and the maximum value is 0 to 127 in MIDI. We already know that, so we don't need to touch any of this. This is already pre-mapped from the factory, so all of this works. I mean, if I didn't touch any of this, it actually would, out of the box, control all of these functions within Studio One for me. I didn't have to do anything except add it as an external controller, and it just worked. So let's go ahead and say that this is the fader I want it to be. Now we'll start right here. Let's back up. Watch this. This is how I might set mine up, because I have, if you look here, I have a load and save option or reload back to default values. I have 3 separate setups. I have a performance setup, I have a mixing setup, and a mastering setup. And what I do is I load the appropriate one with my keyboard prior to me going into a song. If I want to do performance, all of these things, because this just says parameter 1, 2, 3, 4, it's already pre-mapped to a bunch of crap, but I don't use it. So I come in here and I create 3 separate ones, and then for performance, I assign all of these knobs and everything to exactly what I want. Like this one way over here, this is a global volume. Well, that's awesome for me, because what I do is I click it, and you'll notice, look what I have. Minimum 0 to 127, I have it set for CC7, which is generic MIDI channel volume. So it's perfect for me. There I can highlight any of the tracks, and I can now automate CC7 for all of those channels. Then you come over here and let's start looking at faders. I prefer faders when I'm getting into like CC1 and I'm sorry, yeah, CC1, actually not CC1 because I would just use the mod wheel, but CC11, CC21, for instance. I use CC21 for attack time in Vienna Symphonic Library instruments and whatnot, so I might do something simple like this. Save, I would change it to 11. That one's now ready. Come over here, and let's see. I can scroll all the way up or down and find what I'm looking for. Maybe I want it to be panning. I don't know. I'm just making this up. Let's just say I want it to be panning. This next one, I want it to be, scroll all the way up. Let's call this one 21, which says it's undefined. That's why I use this group, by the way, for a lot of my Vienna Symphonic Library stuff for mapping their controls. For me, I already know what CC21 is. I use it all the time as the same for all Vienna Symphonic Libraries, so I know that's my attack time. So let's just say that that's good enough for me, and I'm done. I could at this point save this with a new name, so I'll hit save, and I'll just drop it on my desktop because I'm going to delete it anyway, and I'm going to call this performance. When I hit save, seen that line up right there, it just appeared. I'm going to say send to keyboard. My keyboard blinked for about half a second, and this is now the one that's in my keyboard. So my keyboard's ready with those mappings. So let's go ahead and close this program, and let's open up Studio One and see what happens. I do not have an expression pedal hooked up, just to show you that this is going to work based on those 3 sliders and that one knob I used for CC7 and my mod wheel with CC1. So let's go ahead and just create a blank song real quick. Not put a lot of tracks. Let's go instruments. Let's add a few. Gotta love that lag waiting on that damn USB dongle. Alright, open it up. I'm going to just stick an instrument in there just for the sake. Doesn't really matter. Let's go with this, and I'll just do legato. Okay, so that one's ready. Put an instrument in here. Let's do something very obvious that it's different. That's how about we do this. So now I've basically got 2 instruments that are mapped and ready. Let's see if we can hear them. So yep, we can hear that. Okay, so we know that one's working too. Now it's very dry. There's nothing here except the straight raw sample. So now let's take a look at what's going to happen if we'll just leave this one highlighted for now, and I'm going to play it. And now you don't see this, but I'm just going to go ahead and wiggle the fader that I set to CC11, and you can see right here that it's moving. And you know that it's expression because Studio One tells you right here, the instrument name. It tells you the value you're currently at. Now, Studio One has it set between 0 and 100, but in MIDI world, that actually is going to translate between 0 and 127. Expression tells me that this is CC11, so I know for a fact that this is going to work. So I'm going to turn it all the way up. I'm going to hold this note down. Now I'm going to turn it down. and done. So now if I hit record, you can see here I am recording CC11. So there's me doing literally MIDI automation within the lane, which is how I prefer to do it. So let's back that up. Now if I arm both and hit record, you can see that it works globally. But it's only going to work with the ones that I've got record enabled. So, and then I can twist. You can see the second automation line appearing. That's me playing with CC7 from the knob that I had. Here's my attack time. I'll change to that now. Now I'm wiggling attack time, and now you can see I've got all these automation lanes going. So I'm going to hit stop. Let's double click it and bring it up. And go ahead and add another automation lane. You can see my mod. Back it up. And we got pitch bend volume, control 21, which is what I was adjusting in there. You can see that we didn't see any mod because I didn't actually use any. If I wanted to see, here it is, expression. Here's expression on both tracks. So you can clearly see that I recorded expression to any track that I wanted globally in Studio One by simply using a controller. So knowing that you have this Alesis keyboard, I know it's absolutely possible. You're just going to need to figure out how to do it like what you just watched me do. So hopefully that helps. At least it should put you in the right direction, that you only need to deal with one thing. You need to figure out how to do this on your keyboard, because I know it's possible. I looked at your keyboard online, and I guess I shouldn't say that with absolute certainty, but I looked at it, and from what I see in the manual and just visually looking at the actual graphics of it, it looks to me like you're going to be able to, it talks about being able to MIDI assign and whatnot. You should be able to do this with your keyboard software. But unfortunately, I've never owned an Alesis, so you're going to have to look into that. And if you can't do it there, then you're going to want to consider something else like a little PreSonus, little fader port or something. You're going to want some type of a little tiny external controller at which you will then be able to map specifically the CC control that you want to that fader, and then you can use that fader in real time. So I hope that helps, or at least gives you direction in exactly what it was that you were looking for. See ya.